Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, July 16, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know that that's been like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of the day in your specific era. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly map for the years in Jamaica where we had some severe tropical system affecting the island, whether it's a hurricane or a major hurricane or maybe a tropical storm. First comes 2004, and we can remember that we had Hurricane Charlie, not to mention Hurricane Ivan in that year. And this is the sea surface temperature anomaly map across the Atlantic for mid-July 2004, and we see that we have a lot of yellows, oranges across portions of the Atlantic basin, which contributed to an active hurricane season in 2004. What about 2005? Something very similar, stretching all the way from Africa into the Caribbean. Lots of oranges, and remember how record-breaking that hurricane season was. Not to mention 2007, where we had Hurricane Dean, and we see something similar to what we've been seeing with the other 2 years. Skipping ahead to 2012, if you guys remember, we had Hurricane Sandy in that year, and we see something similar again. Warm sea surface temperature anomalies across the main development region into the Caribbean. Let us see how it compares to this year, mid-July 2023. And we can see that it is even more robust this year with a lot of reds and oranges stretching all the way from Africa into the Caribbean. Not to mention all of that warm sea surface temperature across the eastern Pacific that signals an El Nino. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of the basin wins in terms of activity. We know that when there's an El Nino, we have more storms across portions of the eastern Pacific, which causes more sinking air or wind shear across portions of the Caribbean, which in turn brings less rainfall and less tropical systems across the Atlantic. But with all of these warm sea surface temperatures across the Atlantic, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out by the end of the year, because you know that when there are this drastic amount of sea surface temperature anomalies across the Atlantic, the season is bound to be very busy. So it's going to be interesting to watch as time goes by. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that actually there is a tropical wave right there across portions of the Central Caribbean, crossing over Jamaica at this time, and we don't see much in the way of rainfall across the Jamaica area today, even although we did have some rainfall. But we shall see more rainfall along the backside of this tropical wave on Monday. We can also see that we have two tropical waves, one right here across the main development region that's about to affect portions of the eastern Caribbean, and another right there across the central portions of the main development region. Taking a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can still see subtropical storm Don right there spinning its way across the northern section of the North Atlantic. We can see the clouds associated with that tropical wave right there to the far south of Jamaica pushing westward. We can also see the clouds associated with that tropical wave that's making its way into portions of the Windward and the Leeward Islands, not to mention the other clouds associated with the other tropical wave right there off the coast of Africa. We'll be talking more about the weather across the Caribbean later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today. It was stated that we would have received some rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes on Sunday morning, and then sections of some central and western parishes on Sunday afternoon. And in my area of eastern Jamaica, I actually had some brief rainfall, even although I didn't get a chance to post about it. However, the rest of the weather came true for the rest of the island. So central and western Jamaica indeed got in on some rainfall, more specifically the south central and the southwestern portion of the island. So not much across northern parishes, but south central and southwestern. So we really need to get to know our maps so that when we hear that there's a rainfall coming, we know where specifically it's going to get, and we don't get our hopes up into thinking that we're going to be getting in on a lot of rainfall. So definitely get your geography game up. So we can actually see that another post was made on our Twitter page at 2:36 p.m. highlighting the visible satellite images, and we had those clouds building up across sections of some western parishes, so Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, sections of northern Clarendon, northern St. Catherine, and sections of St. Andrew did indeed get in on some amount of afternoon convection on Sunday. And we even had confirmation of some of our followers on Twitter, Les stating we got some clouds and 2 seconds of rain. At this point, I feel like doing a call out the rain dance. Ricardo stating moderate thunder shower in Red Hills, St. Andrew. Even on our Instagram page, we had one galley stating finally getting rain in St. Andrew. And even this commenter, Boo Chevy, stating it's raining in her neck of the woods. Taking a look at the other post that was made 1 hour later at 3:45 p.m., we had the infrared close-up satellite images showing clouds bring thunder showers. We know those sparkling white dots represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we had some of that especially across portion of northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester right there. So they definitely gotten on some amount of thunderstorms today, anywhere from Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, inland areas of Clarendon, inland areas of St. Catherine, sections of St. Andrew, not so much across Kingston though. And we even have confirmation of this rainfall. Dahima Campbell stating raining a little. And even Roxy J76 stating got little sprinkling in South Trelawney. Even on our TikTok page, we had a commenter confirming the rainfall pressure stating we're getting it right now in Clarendon. Even on our Facebook page, we had Shawnee Reynolds stating rain was at Long Lane Constant Spring, just to confirm the rainfall that we indeed got today. And if we actually take a look at the live cam from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, if you don't know by now, we have a partnership with that YouTube channel. They actually show live streams of Crossroad, Halfway Tree, and the Kingston Harbor if you'd like to see them. And at around 2:56 p.m. today, we had some clouds bring overcast skies across portions of Kingston and St. Andrew, and we did see that we had those darker clouds across portions of northern St. Andrew as well that contributed to some of that rainfall. And if we actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see where we indeed had that easterly flow of low-level clouds that built up, turned into, cumulonimbus clouds. Cumulus clouds becoming cumulonimbus clouds when we had that daytime heating that brought about that thunderstorm activity during the afternoon. And we see it better on the infrared satellite images. We know the high cold cloud tops are represented by those yellows, oranges, and reds, not to mention the sparkling white dots that indicate the lightning flashes and the lightning strikes. And we can see that by evening hours all of this was dying down, with all of those thunder clouds dissipating at that time. And even if we take a look at the Doppler radar images, we know the Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall as opposed to satellite images that show cloud cover. And we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall. And we do indeed see that we had that patch of green and yellow that represent moderate to heavy rainfall right there off the southwestern coast of St. Elizabeth, to signal that yes, they indeed had some rainfall today until it died down. And if we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, we can see where we indeed had that rainfall. Even although this map isn't 100% correct, it paints quite the picture that yes, we indeed had that rainfall across sections of western Jamaica and the inland areas of some central parishes in Jamaica. Taking a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. And as usual, as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that Jamaica is embedded in some slight yellows and slight orange shadings. This is 1 p.m. on Monday, 18th, 1 p.m. on Monday. And we know that the average temperatures for the month of July is about 91 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about the equivalent of 33 degrees Celsius. And if we actually take a look at the thermometer, this confirms it that 91 degrees Celsius is indeed 33 degrees Celsius. And if we should be getting some oranges or yellows that represent 1 to at least 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures for tomorrow, we should be expecting anywhere from 33 to 35 degrees Celsius. Taking a look at the dry air map, not the saran dust map, the dry air map, we can see that there is indeed some amount of dry air surrounding the island of Jamaica. Not so much dry air across the island at this time, especially with that afternoon convection that we've been receiving. We do see a lot of dry air right there across portions of the southeastern Caribbean, right there near the ABC Islands, not to mention right there across portions of the northern portion of the main development region. We can also see that when we take a look at the saran dust forecast, this is the forecast for 2 p.m. on Monday, and we see a lot of brown shadings right there to the northeast of the Leeward Islands. That's a huge plume of saran dust that's going to be making its way westward. So later on this week, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of saran dust taking shape across the Jamaica area. Right now we do have saran dust, but it's not that robust where we have that hazy skies or persons asthma or sinusitis or allergies being triggered that robust at this time. But definitely when this huge plume makes its way westward later on this week, maybe Thursday into Friday, that's when we're going to be seeing more hazy skies and probably some persons being affected. Let us take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow. Both maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing 12 p.m. on Monday, and we can see that for the most part we have blue surrounding the island, only some purples or some slight reds out to the south or the east. That means 2 meter wave heights or more, while majority of the island should be experiencing 1.5 meter wave heights or less, and that's due to the fact that we're going to be receiving 20 knot winds at most coming in from the east. But where does all of this air pile up? Where do we have the least amount of winds across the island? Same as yesterday, inland areas of some central parishes and sections of some western parishes in Jamaica. So that's definitely where we're going to have that buildup of clouds leading to daytime heating, and then they becoming some cumulonimbus clouds causing some amount of afternoon convection across the area. So definitely those same spots that we got rainfall today, sections of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland might get in on some of that, and with the upper level wind shear coming in from the west southwest, it will definitely cause some of these clouds to be stalled out, bringing more thunderstorms to those spots right there, especially along the south coast of the island. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, we can see that the Euro is showing some amount of rainfall right there across sections of eastern Jamaica in the morning, not to mention the GFS. So maybe sections of St. Thomas, Portland might get in on some of that rainfall. We know the blues represent rainfall, and we know that when there's consensus, when both maps are showing the same thing, the chances of it actually happening are actually higher. So sections of St. Thomas, Portland might get in on some of that morning rainfall. What time is this? This is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 9 a.m. Jamaica time. Skipping ahead to a couple hours later, this is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 1 p.m. Jamaica time. So at 1 p.m. what do we see? We see more blues stretching all the way from eastern, central, and western Jamaica. All across the island we have blues, especially across sections of central and western Jamaica. Look at those darker shades of blues and greens in there across portions of southern St. James, northern St. Elizabeth. We might have some tremendous rainfall right there across portions of the cockpit country. Skipping ahead to about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. Look at this. This is some tremendous colors right there that represent some intense rainfall, and these are 1 hour total rainfalls. This is 3 p.m. Jamaica time. We don't see it that much on the Euro, but we see it on the GFS model, and that's around 3 p.m. even around 4 p.m. right there, even more robust right there on the border of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland. So they might indeed see some very heavy rainfall, not to mention maybe a freak storm or two, who knows. Definitely some rainfall coming in for section of western Jamaica for tomorrow, and some isolated flash flooding could be possible in some spots. And we even see that on the accumulated precipitation forecast by the GFS, with all of those darker shades of reds that represent up to 1.5 inches of rainfall. That could definitely cause some flooding. We don't see that much on the Euro. The Euro is showing rainfall, yes, across sections of eastern, central, and western Jamaica, but we don't see it that robust across sections of the GFS across eastern Jamaica, but we do see it across western portions of the island. We know that these maps are showing the accumulated precipitation from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. And we're not saying that we're going to be having rainfall all the way up until then, but definitely during the afternoon hours, that's when the rainfall is bound to come, and it's definitely going to be raining heavily, especially across western Jamaica, southwestern Jamaica specifically, so Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be receiving all of this rainfall, considering that we're in the month of July. We usually receive up to 135 millimeters of rainfall during this month. We usually have a very dry period in the month of July across the island, so we'll take all the rainfall that we can get for this month to put a dent in the hydrological drought that we're currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. Alright, so as said, we are having some amount of rainfall across sections of the eastern Caribbean, from Grenada northward, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Martinique, sections of Dominica, Guadeloupe getting in on some of that rainfall, maybe sections of Antigua and Barbuda as well, not to mention sections of western Puerto Rico, sections of Dominican Republic, and sections of Nicaragua and Costa Rica and Panama getting in on some deep convection right there. Taking a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, this will give us a picture of what actually took place, or what's actually taking place right now. We can see that rainfall that tropical wave is bringing to sections of Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, as indicated by those greens and yellows, St. Kitts and Nevis, sections of Anguilla, maybe a section of St. Bart's by getting on some of that rainfall tonight. US and British Virgin Islands getting some spotty showers, not to mention sections of Puerto Rico. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, we can see a lot of rainfall right there to the north and west and to the south of Barbados associated with that same tropical wave, bringing rainfall to sections of St. Lucia, Martinique, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and some rainfall can be seen coming into sections of eastern Tobago as well. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that heavy rainfall that section of Florida got in on today, and we can see that rainfall as well across sections of Nicaragua as well. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we have some very warm temperatures still being had across sections of Texas, the Gulf of Mexico, and we're going to be receiving anywhere from average to slightly above normal temperatures across majority of the Caribbean basin. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we see that 2 p.m. on Monday has majority of the Caribbean basin embedded in some slight hazy weather associated with the Sahara Desert, with the most robust being indicated by those very dark brown shades across portions of the waters to the north of the northeastern Caribbean and portions of the northern main Devonshire region. All of this is pushing its way westward, so definitely going to be getting in on some very hazy weather, maybe triggering some asthmatic conditions, sinusitis, allergies to the people of the eastern Caribbean and the central and western Caribbean eventually as this week progresses. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that the highest waves are right there to the south of Jamaica, as indicated by those purples and red shades. They represent 2 meter wave heights or more, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS small, and that's due to the fact that the strongest winds will be across those spots, as indicated by those yellow shades that represent 25 knots or more, with majority of the rest of the basin receiving easterly winds averaging up to 20 knots at most. Let us take a look at the precipitation forecast from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. We're not saying that all of these areas are going to be receiving rainfall up until then. There's definitely rainfall coming within the next 24 hours for these areas though. So sections of southern or southeastern Cuba, sections of Florida, not so much across portions of the Bahamas or the Turks and Caicos, but we definitely do indeed see rainfall across sections of Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, US and British Virgin Islands, sections of maybe St. Kitts, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica, sections of St. Lucia, sections of St. Vincent, Barbados, sections of eastern Trinidad as well. We can also see some rainfall across sections of Venezuela, Colombia, sections of maybe Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana might get in on some of that rainfall, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, and sections of Guatemala as well. I know that when both maps are showing something similar like this, the chance of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.